That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
Because of the delayed start. And we got some month-long rentals going places. We got some big-name pitchers. We got some young talent getting shipped across the league. And we got a lot of news to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, the only similarity is it happened on the 31st, just a different 31st.
Yep.
And
it's
yeah,
like the waiver deadline that used to exist.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. A lot of guys who you would be very surprised if before the season, if you heard that these guys were going to get traded, you would probably be shocked at some of the guys that got moved.
Some of these guys you'd be shocked were even trade worthy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Like Trevor Rosenthal is an old.
And that's exactly who I was talking about. I didn't even know he was still in the league. Turns out he's actually doing really well this season and earned himself a spot on a competing team.
Yeah, it's been incredibly interesting. We could get right into it. The Padres are here to win in 2020 and beyond. They have planted firmly as a win now team. As they should be. They have I think now the second best record in the National League, second best or third best, and they have gotten many players. They got Trevor Rosenthal, Mitch Moreland, Austin Nola, and the headliner is Mike Clevinger. Where do we want to start here?
Well, I mean, this is exactly how you have to be if you're AJ Preller and the Padres. You know, they did have to get rid of a lot of young talent in their farm system. We'll obviously get to that in a little bit, but you know, you're going to have the Dodgers. You're always going to have them up above you. Like that's kind of just the way things are in the NL Central. And if you want to compete, this is how you got to be. You got to, you know, be aggressive at the trade deadline. You got to get an ace when you might be lacking one, because you know, as good as Chris Paddock is, he's not. I don't think he's ready to lead a rotation right now. I think he needs some sort of veteran presence above him to sort of lead by example, and Mike Clevinger is exactly that.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, the experience is a factor because you know Dinelson Lamet has made a step up, but even him, he's still I think like 25 or 26 years old. Mike Clevinger, you know he hasn't had that crazy amount of league experience, but he is a guy who's 29 or 30 right now, and he's been in the league since about 2016. And, you know, the Indians' pitching system, I think you have a lot to learn from that area. So he could bring some of that to the Padres rotation.
Yeah, and I mean, the Indians have, for a while, had the best rotation in the league, whether it was led by, you know, Kluber and Salazar and Carrasco, or by, you know, now, or at least at the start of this year, you know, Bieber, Clevinger, Savale. Mike Clevinger went into spring training this year as the guy. Like, he was the number one pitcher, you know, on the Indians. I believe he started opening day. Is that correct? Or was that – no, Bieber did. But Bieber started opening day. But Clevinger was the most experienced, and he was sort of the leader in that rotation as, you know, like as in Corey Kluber's absence, he was the one taking that leadership role. And, you know, being a leader of that pitching factory, you know, is something to consider on a pitcher's resume. To go over to San Diego now where they're just developing, I think is a really good look for Clev, really good look for AJ Preller. And yeah, you get into the bits of the players dealt here.
Yeah, so Mike Clevinger, if you're unaware of how good Mike Clevinger is, here's a stat to show you what he has been doing since about 2018. So there are 33 pitchers who have pitched 300-plus innings pitched in the American League since the start of 2018, and his earned run average ranks fourth among those 33 pitchers behind Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and Blake Snell, all of which were at least a Cy Young or a Cy Young runner-up in the last 2 years. So that's where he's been. And so along with Mike Clevinger went Greg Allen. Greg Allen is mostly like a pinch runner type guy. In 2019, he was in the 92nd percentile in sprint speed, and in 2018, he had 21 stolen bases. So now into what the Indians received, because they let go of a giant starting pitcher.
They got a haul.
They got a lot of guys. So I guess the headliner is Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill is a right-handed pitcher, 25 years old. He was a first-round draft pick, 8th overall in 2016, and he was the 40th best prospect. He was ranked the 40th best prospect in baseball, according to MLB.com, before 2018, but he's kind of dropped off since then. He's produced okay numbers in the big leagues in 120 and a third innings pitched. He was a starter last year, and this year he's a reliever, and he's actually doing better. He has a 2.60 ERA right now currently as a reliever. He was drafted as a starter, but, whatever works. And he's more of a ground ball pitcher. So far in 2020, 45.0% of the batted balls on him have turned out to be ground balls, and he uses his sinker 37.3% of the time. So that's Cal Quantrill. That's probably the main guy that they're getting some relief help for this year. So then there's Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor is an outfielder, 23 years old, and he was the number 99 prospect in baseball, according to Baseball America, prior to 2019. And so far in his career, he has 317 career plate appearances and an OPS plus of 92. And that's not bad considering that he's only 23 years old. He's probably going to be above average at some point later on. Then the Indians also got Gabriel Arias. He is a shortstop, 20 years old. His estimated time of arrival is 2022, and he is now the number 5 prospect in the Indian system. He had an 809 OPS in high A last year, and he's actually graded higher for his defensive ability. So maybe a guy that, actually now, Francisco Lindor is probably going to go into free agency, so maybe that's your shortstop of the future over there in Cleveland, unfortunately. And then the Indians also got Joey Cantillo. Joey Cantillo is actually very interesting. So he's a left-handed pitcher, 20 years old. His estimated time of arrival is 2022. And now he is the number 15 prospect in the Indian system. He started as a 16th round draft pick in 2019, but in the minors, he's done extremely well. He's outperformed that draft point. He had a 2.26 ERA in 111 and 2/3 innings pitched across single A last year. And what's even more surprising, he was striking out 11.6 batters per 9 innings and only walking 2.7 per 9 innings. And then the fifth guy is Austin Hedges. Austin Hedges is a catcher, 28 years old. He's a poor offensive catcher, but he led the league in runs extra strikes in 2019. That meant he was the best framer in all of baseball last year, getting the best, getting the most calls, most extra calls.
Did he win a Gold Glove? I'm pretty sure he was up for a Gold Glove last year.
Yeah,
he was like a finalist for it.
Yeah, he must have been. And in his career, he throws runners out at a 32% clip. League average is 27%, so he's about 5% above average in that sense. And then Owen Miller is the last guy. He's a middle infielder. He's 23 years old. He was a third-round draft pick in 2018, and now he is the number 19 prospect in the Indian system. And he had a 785 OPS in Double-A last year. Not much on the guy. Maybe a guy they could bring in a couple years from now. So that's the haul. The Indians they didn't cheap out. They didn't compromise that much because they got 6 guys that I could see all 6 of them making somewhat of an impact on their major league roster at some point.
Do you think you could make the case that the Padres have the most complete team in the National League? It's like, look at their lineup, look at their rotation with Clev, and look at their bullpen.
It's very hard to beat the Dodgers, but
It's very hard to beat the Dodgers, but I mean, could they be
Dodgers,
right
I guess maybe their bullpen isn't, but I don't know. I can't really put anybody over the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are the most complete team in baseball, so that's just it's hard to put anyone over the Dodgers. But after the Dodgers, it might just be the Padres. Yeah,
really could. So now they got. I mean, if they go into a 4-game playoff series, they got Clev, Paddock, Lamet, and Zach Davies, maybe Luis Patino if he can develop quickly. Like, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, Davies has been pretty good this year, right?
Very he's kind of been under the radar for a while. I remember with the Brewers, like, he had some like pretty high quality seasons that didn't really go as noticed. I remember 17 wins in 2017. I remember that. Yeah, he has a 2.61 ERA this year in 41 and a third innings pitched, 37 strikeouts, ERA plus of 168, FIP of 325. Yeah, I mean, also only 2 walks per 9, which is not bad either. Yeah, I mean, Zach Davies, I mean, if that's your 4-starter going to the playoffs, like, not bad at all. And also, like, Chris Paddock, I know that, his stats show that he can be better, but that's the type of guy I would be very excited to see him on a mound in October.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the fire and all of that. I think he's got that competitive, whatever that off switch. I think he's got that, and he's got stuff to back it up. Yeah, the Padres.
Exactly.
The Padres they're probably not going to be the best team coming out of the National League, but they might just be the most exciting team.
They're gonna be America's team. Everyone's gonna want that team to win. October.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're America's most popular team in terms of, like, if you're not a Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers fan, whatever, it's probably they probably have the most secondary fans. Like,
if there's a bandwagon to hop on right now, it's the San Diego Padres.
Yes, correct. Yeah, the Padres are. Yeah, they've done nothing but provide highlight after highlight after highlight, and they're going to get more with what they just picked up.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll get into the lineup after I go through this next trade. There's a lot of people saying that they got fleeced in the Austin Nola trade, and you could definitely look at it that way. And I'll go over who was given up in the deal in just a minute. But Austin Nola gets traded from the Seattle Mariners to the Padres. He was my how about that last week. So, cool to see the Padres recognizing him too.
Yeah.
And Austin Nola is one of 3 catchers in the majors to have accumulated 1 win above replacement, according to Fangraphs. The other one is JT Realmuto, who is widely regarded as the best catcher in the league, so that's not bad. One interesting thing, though, Nola just came up last year, so he does have 6 years of control. But the problem is he's 30 years old. He played 773 games in the minor leagues before playing in the majors. And he is arbitration eligible after 2022. So, you have a lot of control. But you just, with the age, you really don't know for how long he's going to be able to contribute to your team. That is the one thing, especially since you gave up your primary catcher in Hedges, and Luis Torrens, who I'll go over in a minute, was a backup catcher. So that was the centerpiece of this trade. The Padres also got Austin Adams from the Mariners, who had really good strikeout numbers, 14.9 strikeouts per 9 in 32 innings pitched in 2019 in the majors. So that was awesome. And Dan Altivia was also given up. He's a reliever. Has not been very good as of late. 6.49 ERA with a 4.89 FIP since 2019. Also 19 earned runs and 19 walks in 26 innings pitched. That is what he's done since 2019. So that is what the Padres are getting. So now let's see what Jerry Dipoto was able to bring back for those 3 players. First of all, Taylor Trammell. This guy is the 60th overall prospect on MLB.com currently. He was also the MVP of the 2018 Futures game in Washington, D.C., and he's about to turn 23 years old next month. So this guy is young. He's been traded twice. He was in the Trevor Bauer trade because he was originally on the Reds. That was a 3-team trade, of course. So it's crazy to see a guy like highly touted prospect of his caliber get traded twice. Like, when else have we seen that?
Anthony Rizzo kind of, but he reached the major leagues.
He made the majors at least.
Yeah,
like,
he did. Yeah.
Mel has been traded twice as a highly touted prospect. He has not played a single game in the majors. Anyway, that is pretty much the main piece the Mariners got back. And by the way, the Mariners' outfield of the future is looking pretty hot. They got Jared Kelenic, of course, their number one prospect who they got in the Edwin Diaz trade. They got Julio Rodriguez, their second best prospect. They have Kyle Lewis, who, of course, is the frontrunner for AL Rookie of the Year. And now they got Taylor Trammell. So, I mean, they got a lot of options in that outfield. And if the universal DH is going to – I guess it doesn't matter for them anyway because they're an AL team. But, I mean, you can put one of those guys at DH and have a really deep lineup, which is awesome. And you also got Ty France, who is 26 years old. He's played 89 games in the majors. He has a 736 career OPS. So, you could have some potential there, like an above-average OPS at best. You also have Luis Torrens, who is the backup catcher for the Padres. His offensive numbers have not been very effective since he came into the majors. I've heard from Padres fans that he's okay at best at defense. So, maybe not the best option there, but a backup catcher regardless. And he is a former Rule 5 pick from the Padres as well. And the last person is Andres Munoz, who is on the DL right now, or the IL, I'm sorry. But he had a 317 FIP in 23 innings pitched in 2019 with 11.7 strikeouts per 9. So that guy definitely has a lot of potential to be coming out of that Mariners bullpen in the future. And, the Padres have a very, very deep lineup. Austin Nola as your catcher, who has an above 300 average and I believe a 900 OPS. Nothing to complain about at all. Of course, your infield is Hosmer, Cronenworth, Tatis, and Machado. That's Slam Diego. All of them hit grand slams in that week. In your outfield, you have Tommy Pham, who is my guy to watch, who hasn't gotten it going yet, but he's been hurt. So he could definitely turn it on. Trent Grisham, who was hot to start the year, and then Will Myers, who is also hitting the cover off the ball this year. And your DH is Mitch Moreland, who they just traded for from the Boston Red Sox. Mitch Moreland did he have an above 12 OPS upon being traded?
I think so. Mitch Moreland, I bet there's a lot
1177.
I bet there's a lot of non-Red Sox fans who don't know just how good he's been. Mitch Moreland has the highest OPS against right-handed pitchers this year, minimum 50 plate appearances against right-handed pitchers. He has a 1225 OPS against right-handed pitchers.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Obviously you and I can speak of him with sort of the eye test because we are both Red Sox fans and we've gotten to watch him for the past 4 years. Mitch Moreland is a ball player you want on your team. He's a Gold Glove caliber defender. He won a Gold Glove in 2016. He's going to give you an above-average offensive season. He's going to be there. He's there in the clutch moments when you need them. In Game 4 of the 2018 World Series, he had this monster home run that went 460 feet. That it didn't even give the Red Sox the lead or even tie the game, but as soon as that home run, he had that sort of effect where as soon as he hit it, it's all right, we're not losing this game. And we obviously the Red Sox ended up winning that game. Mitch Moreland is a professional. He's a hard worker. He's everything you want in a ball player, and he's also got that veteran presence because he has over 10 years of service time. He actually just hit that. So Mitch Moreland, the Padres are going to get someone they really like, and should they make the postseason, this guy can be expected to make noise in October.
Yeah, and what I will say is when he's been healthy, he's been almost elite. He's been when he gets hot, It's usually when he's healthy, and this year he's been healthy the entire season. And look, a 1225 OPS against right-handed pitchers. So we're going to take a little break, but the listeners won't be getting a break. We'll be right back with the listeners, but we're taking a little halftime for the show being amazing. And we're back talking. Now we're going to be going into Trevor Rosenthal. Trevor Rosenthal, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, a huge surprise this year. Went from a guy who was, I think, on waivers or designated for assignment like 2 weeks into last season to being one of the best relievers on the market this season.
Yeah, I didn't even realize Trevor Rosenthal was still in the league. He had a solid 13.50 ERA last year in 15 and a third innings pitched. That makes 23 earned runs in 15 innings. Also, 26 walks and 17 strikeouts. A FIP of 6.87. This guy was just flat out bad last year for the Nationals and the Tigers in a small sample size, albeit. But, I mean, just take a waiver deal with the Kansas City Royals, obviously not a team that's expecting much, and actually put himself in a position to be on a winning team. He's now on the San Diego Padres. I mean, good for him.
Yeah. Now on a winning team, and the Padres definitely needed that bullpen help because, you already think of the Padres as a team with a good bullpen, but Kirby Yates is on the IL. Drew Pomeranz is on the IL, I think, still. And
Emilio Pagan hasn't been exactly what you've been hoping for.
Yeah, Emilio Pagan has kind of underperformed as of late. So getting another back of the bullpen type guy, a guy that can strike out a lot of guys, is very important for the Padres and solidifies them as one of the most talented teams in the National League.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, the Dodgers still probably win the division, but, I mean, if San Diego was able to make a run at it, that'd be cool to watch.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, they've hung with the Dodgers this year. I think they're 3-4 against them, which isn't bad at all. So, I mean, why not? And the Padres really, they addressed every single problem and filled every single hole in this trade deadline. It was really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they did give up quite a bit, which I think could possibly come back to bite them in 3 to 4 years, especially that Mariners trade. But AJ Preller is in win now mode, and I gotta tip my hat to him.
Yeah, and them giving up a lot. I mean, I'm thinking about who they gave up. Cal Quantrill, I mean, he's probably going to be a reliever for a while. So you're fine flipping him for Clevinger. You traded Josh Naylor, who, you might want the outfielder in the future, but still. And Gabriel Arias is a shortstop. You already have your shortstop of the future there. And then, you have a lot of future guys who are just in Major League Baseball right now. So dumping some prospects isn't the worst thing in the world.
It's not gonna be the end of the world. But I think there might be some trades where they're like, ooh, we could have that guy. We could have Trammell. We could have Andres Munoz, who's striking out a lot of guys for the Mariners. Which, I mean, like I said, not the end of the world, but I don't know. I feel like the Mariners are gonna look back on this trade, on the Austin Nola trade, and be really happy about it, especially because he's 30.
Yeah, that deal might end up the worst for them, but we'll see. We'll see how Austin Nola's career pans out because, a lot of catchers, if he caught for the entirety of the minor leagues, a lot of catchers will just switch to first base in their mid-30s. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's the direction he wants to take, but
I mean, they got Evan White at first base. Actually, the Mariners do. Never mind. Padres, they have Hosmer, they have Moreland. I mean, how long is Hosmer still under contract for?
Yeah, he's got 5 more years after this. Signed in 2018, right?
Well, it was a 7-year deal, right?
I think it was 8 154 or 8 144.
Maybe 4 or 5 years. And by that point, Austin Knowles is going to be 35 years old.
Yeah, we'll see. It is definitely a win now type of deal. He's he was the best catcher on the trade market.
And I mean, the Padres have a history of going all in, but then having it blow up in their face. Like, of course, everyone remembers 2015 when they got James Shields, they got Craig Kimbrell, Derek Norris, Matt Kemp, Will Myers. I mean, Will Myers is still around now, which is good. But that's like, then they finished last place. I don't think we're gonna see that here, especially because the team was already talented to begin with.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Padres do have a history of going all in and having it not work out.
Yeah, that is true. But on to other teams. The Oakland Athletics made a few moves themselves. They got Mike Minor, who you would have thought would have more trade value heading into the season, but he's struggled as of late. Brought his trade value down a little bit. And another guy they got was Tommy La Stella, who's a pretty big piece. I think a bigger piece than a lot of people are realizing.
Yeah, so I'll start with the Mike Minor trade. Mike Minor is under contract for another month. He was a free agent after this year. So, I mean, Oakland's kind of just taking a flyer. And why not? Because Frankie Montas has been struggling lately. Mike Fiers hasn't been very good. So, I mean, they obviously have holes in their rotation. And Minor has been struggling too this year. 0-5 with a 5.6 ERA, a 4.83 FIP in 35 innings pitched. And, I mean, obviously 0-5 is never good, even if win-loss record for pitchers isn't really looked at as much. Especially in a ballpark, like I mentioned a few shows ago, with not a lot of offense. It is interesting to see the increase in runs allowed for Mike Minor. But, I mean, if he goes to Oakland and can solidify a spot in that rotation, I think that's really what the A's are looking for here.
Yeah, I think they're going based on what he did last year. He should turn it around. He should at least be a serviceable pitcher for the Athletics. And yeah, then you got.
I know. All of his. I'm looking at all his rate statistics here. From 2019 to 2020, I'm seeing increases everywhere. He is striking out a few more people. I know it is a smaller sample size, but it's 8.9 this year compared to 8.6 last year. Walks per nine is 3.3 to 2.9 increase this year. Home runs per nine is 1.8 to 1.3, and hits per nine is 8.9 to 8.2. So this is the higher numbers are all this year. So he is, I mean, it kind of confirms what we already know because he has a higher ERA. But I mean, outside of a small increase in strikeouts, he's not really doing anything much better than he was last year at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But Mike Minor, before last year, he was never quite an ace, but he was still a serviceable pitcher, and I would expect that with him being in Oakland. And the other guy, Tommy La Stella. Tommy La Stella, I say it's a big piece because he's been pretty underrated in the past 2 years. The only problem the only problem is health. He hasn't put up a lot of plate appearances in the last 2 years, but since the start of 2019, of all second basemen to accumulate 400 plate appearances, his weighted runs created plus ranks 6th. So he's been one of the best one of the better offensive second basemen out there.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Chris, because one stat that I had, so far this season, the Oakland A's have gotten the 4th worst production from second baseman by slugging percentage. So Tommy La Stella is going to help fill that hole. And they got an infield of Matt Olson who, he could be playing better right now. La Stella, if he stays healthy, he can have a solid 120 OPS plus, weighted runs created plus, something like that. Simeon, who's also needs to step it up a bit, and Matt Chapman, who is, of course, Matt Chapman. But the Oakland A's, they filled a hole, and I really like what the Angels did here too. They got Franklin Barreto, who was the A's top prospect when he entered the team in, I believe, 2018. And, you're trading Tommy La Stella in a lost season where he's on a contract year for Barreto, who has a lot more control in the future.
Yeah, I didn't know what the return there was, but Franklin Barreto was, yeah, he was definitely highly touted in 2018. It is alarming when, like, a guy like Barreto or a guy like Trammell, when they're, highly touted a couple years ago, and then they kind of fade out in terms of rankings. I always see that as a pretty bad sign, but was Barreto injured or what?
Well, first of all, he's 0 for 10 this year. But he does have 5 runs scored? That's interesting. He's 0 for 10 in 10 plate appearances, but he has 5 runs scored. How is that a thing?
He's probably a pinch runner.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, okay, so he's been a pinch runner. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, 4 years in his career, he has 219 career plate appearances, only 7 career walks. Walk rate is not very promising. But in those years, he has a 180 batting average with a 570 career OPS. So there definitely is another step to be taken for him as far as development goes. He is only 24 years old, and he's a free agent after the 2024 season. I mean, if you're the Angels, you're not really missing out on a month of time in La Stella when you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you basically just you get what you get there, and there's not a crazy amount of value on La Stella, even though he's one of the better offensive second basemen out there. But it's just a month of the guy, and you kind of just take what you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I like this trade a lot for both teams. I think both of them will look back on it in a good way. I think Tommy La Stella really could. He is sort of a table setter in that lineup. Like, he was always hitting before Mike Trout. So I mean, he would get on base for him. And I mean, obviously the Athletics don't have a Mike Trout, but they have Matt Olson, they have Matt Chapman, Mark Canha, Stephen Piscotty. They have so many good bats in that lineup that a guy like La Stella could set up for.
Yeah, Tommy La Stella is, as we mentioned, one of the better offensive second basemen out there, and definitely completes that infield. Another team that did some, I guess, completing of their roster was the Blue Jays. Blue Jays got a couple starting pitchers. They also got Jonathan Villar. What acquisition do you think was the best out of those three?
Out of these three, I'd say Walker, just because, I mean, Robbie Ray has obviously been struggling this year. You mentioned him a couple weeks ago on Slightly Alarming. And, I mean, Villar is a very underrated player as well, but they already have Bichette and Biggio in their corner infield. So I'm not quite sure where he fits in the field. Maybe they DH him. And I think if they didn't have that, then I would say Villar, but I'm going to say Taijuan Walker just because of that. He's 27 years old, coming off of Tommy John surgery in 2018. He pitched 1 inning in all of 2019 on the day of game 162. This year, so far he has a 3.27 ERA in 6 starts, 33 innings pitched, 29 strikeouts, 11 walks. He does have a FIP of 4.62, so it does suggest that he might regress a little bit. But, the Blue Jays, they have Hyunjin Ryu in their rotation. Outside of that, like, have they really had any reliable starters all year?
No, I mean, Nate Pearson is on the IL now, so you can't really.
Rourke has been struggling. Matt Shoemaker hasn't been as good as he was. And, I mean, not really. Trent Thornton is not the guy you want. I mean, Taijuan Walker probably becomes their 2 starter right now.
Yeah, objectively, it would make sense, especially with how he's doing this year. Robbie Ray is a guy.
I was going to say, do you want to get into Robbie Ray?
Robbie Ray, he was a slightly alarming. I think it was either the last episode or the episode before that, where I pointed out he walks a guy per inning, and this has never been like a trend of his. It's never been this bad for Robbie Ray. He's had control issues before, but never like this. But but you should expect him to do better. I mean, he's always been kind of a number 3 guy on the Diamondbacks staff. So, I mean, they probably didn't give up much for him, so that's probably a win for the Blue Jays, even though he's been struggling. And then Jonathan Villar. Jonathan Villar, he actually put up a very good season. I saw it was Jonathan Villar put up 3.9 wins above replacement last year, and he's done a little worse offensively from the batter's box, but still, I mean, he's one of the best base runners out there to begin with. Like, in a full season, he can give you 40 stolen bases and get caught less than 15 times, which is definitely good. You know.
Yeah, not only that, but he has 71 walks since the start of 2019, which is awesome if you're that kind of a base runner. And another thing you didn't mention, last year he played all 162 games, which is a trait that very few people possess in today's game. It is sort of overlooked a little bit. I mean, just having a guy that can go out there every day and give you that quality of baseball doesn't come by very often, and Jonathan Villar will be able to give that to the Blue Jays. Like Tommy La Stella, he can be sort of a table setter in that lineup. Just the only thing is, where exactly does he fit?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the Blue Jays, they're a lineup that could use some speed, especially with Bichette out. They could definitely use some speed at the top of the lineup, and I think VR pretty much does that for you.
Yeah.
So that's
what I got on the Blue Jays.
That's the Blue Jays and what they did. Some minor moves, nothing. They didn't empty their farm system. They got some smaller guys, some guys to ensure that they will get into the postseason. They're on track to get in the postseason right now, and that's probably a thing that will happen, especially with the lack of what other quote unquote wild card team
competition in the AL.
Yeah, it's them and the Twins right now at the 7 and 8 seeds, and behind them is like the Tigers and I don't know, Royals, Orioles. I think that 8 spot is kind of safe for the Blue Jays. Another team that's, I believe, set in the 7th or 8th seed is the Colorado Rockies. Colorado Rockies were also active at the deadline. They got themselves a nice reliever. They got themselves a nice outfielder. Mychal Givens and Kevin Pillar are going to the Rockies. What were your thoughts on these acquisitions?
Mychal Givens is someone who's flown way under the radar this season. A 1.38 ERA with a 2.59 FIP, also 13.2 strikeouts per 9. Pretty good. His home runs per 9 has gone down by over one from 2019. It went from 1.9 to 0.7, which is really encouraging if you're going to Colorado, because the air is so much thinner out there and the ball flies a lot more. The Rockies, I mean, have they had particular bullpen struggles? I mean, who's closing out games for them?
I think it was Daniel Bard, right? Yeah,
it was Daniel Bard, who hadn't pitched since 2011, and he is a 4.20 ERA, fitting for Colorado. I think they have Carlos Estevez too, I believe. Yeah, they have Carlos Estevez in their closer. He has a 3.78 ERA, which is, I mean, it's decent, but they could definitely use some bullpen help. So I guess that's where Mychal Givens comes in.
Yeah, Colorado's just, it's so random. I don't even know if it matters really how good you are. I mean, Wade Davis went over there, and
oh my God,
he's been struggling.
If you want a good laugh, go look at Wade Davis's home road splits from his first season in Colorado.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look right now because it was comical. It was clear as day.
It's just so random that I like a reliever going over there. I can't really take any stock in them improving that much, because so many guys just go over there and completely transform into a worse pitcher. So I mean, objectively, it should be a good deal. I mean, Michael Givens, he's not only good this year, for his entire career, I think he has a 3.32 ERA in his career. I was checking earlier today.
The Orioles. Like, he was there for all the tough times in Baltimore. Yeah, okay, so Wade Davis in 2018. I need to find game level stats because I'm looking at his splits right now. So please hold.
Yeah, but yeah, Givens is objectively a good reliever. He had a rough year last year, but maybe it was juiced balls giving him some trouble. He's got 10.9 strikeouts per nine career-wise and only 3.5 walks per nine, which is pretty good for a reliever. I think the average reliever might have like 4 walks per nine. They just don't have as much control. But yeah, like Michael Givens objectively should be a good deal, but so many guys just transform into bad pitchers over there.
So Wade Davis in 2018, a 3.55 ERA on the road, 4.73 at home.
That was 2018.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then the other acquisition, Kevin Pillar, we as Red Sox fans have seen him firsthand. He's had a pretty good season, better than last season, which earned him an MVP candidacy, which is still
a single MVP vote.
Still so ridiculous. I don't know what that guy was thinking, but
I promise you, it had to have been a San Francisco writer. There's no way.
Yeah, it was.
And to his credit, Kevin Pillar is still a very good player. I mean, obviously, you've seen the defensive highlights for years and years, but he has started to pick it up more on offense over the last couple of years, and that showed in Boston. And, in Colorado, it probably is going to show because it's a hitter's paradise. So let's see. In 2018, he had a 708 OPS, and then it went up a little bit in 2019 to 719, and then 795 OPS with the Red Sox in 30 games. So he was off to a pretty good start, and Colorado is probably going to be good to him as well.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he's a free swinger. He doesn't really walk a lot, but he's a giant hustler, very good defensively, obviously, and has improved offensively. Very serviceable offensively. I know the Rockies have a very good outfield, or a pretty deep outfield already, but getting Kevin Pillar will still be worth it. They got Blackman, Dahl, Tapia, Hilliard, but Pillar is still a good acquisition there.
Yeah, not bad. Not a bad move from the Rockies. Probably, you can only assume they're going to try and snag that 7 or 8 seed at this point because San Diego looks really good and the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Yeah,
that's true. So the Rockies keeping themselves relevant, keeping themselves playoff worthy. A team that's been struggling, had high expectations, and we would have, some guys had this team winning the division this year. We both had them as wild card teams even before the expanded playoffs were announced. The Cincinnati Reds, they got Archie Bradley and Angels outfielder. How about that alum Brian Goodwin?
That's right.
So keeping themselves relevant and playoff worthy there.
So, Chris, do you remember when I mentioned Brian Goodwin on How About That? Do you remember what my topic was as to why I was talking about him?
Was it a specific pitch that he was improving on?
It was the quantity of pitches being thrown.
Was he getting more curveballs or more fastballs?
It was more fastballs. He was getting more fastballs and less breaking balls, despite being noticeably better on fastballs last year. than he was on breaking balls. And those numbers are still up. It's fastball is 57. There's 54 last year to 57.1 this year. Breaking ball is 30.7 to 24.4. And the trend is continuing. Like he has a 188. He has a 188 batting average on breaking balls and a 279 on fastballs. And it was pretty much the same thing last year. So I'm interested to see if the change in competition will start to realize this, and maybe they'll throw more off speed. I mean, he's going to have like Jack Flaherty in his division. He's going to have Yu Darvish, who's the king of breaking balls pretty much. I mean, who else? Like Brandon Woodruff. He's going to have some quality pitching in his division. And I'm interested to see if they can adapt.
Yeah, it is weird, but I'm wondering what the stats are on the whole league, like fastballs versus breaking balls, because I would imagine,
sure it is.
I would imagine that everyone hits better on fastballs, but I don't know if the gap is that large.
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely not uncommon to hit fastballs particularly well, but if someone doesn't hit well against breaking balls, it seems weird to me that they throw less of them over time.
Yeah, it does seem weird.
Like maybe you shorten the gap between fastballs and breaking balls that are thrown to him.
Yeah, and it's not really a small sample size anymore, so you can't even say that.
Exactly.
And then they get Archie Bradley, who historically has been a pretty good reliever, and the Reds definitely need bullpen help. That's what's kind of been holding them back. They've still, despite being, I think, 15 and 19, they've had one of the best starting rotations in baseball. It's been their bullpen and sometimes their offense. Archie Bradley, his breakout year was 2017. 2017, he had a 1.73 ERA in 73 innings pitched. Ever since then, he's been kind of a mid-threes ERA guy. This year, it's a little above 4, but it'll probably go down. I mean, his FIP is 201 right now, so maybe some things are falling for the opponents of Archie Bradley. So that's a good acquisition. That might go under the radar and might help.
I have one big takeaway, or something I'm looking forward to with the Archie Bradley acquisition in Cincinnati, and it is that so far this season, Archie Bradley is in the 84th percentile of fastball velocity. However, he is in the 41st percentile of fastball spin rate and the 2nd percentile in curveball spin rate. And if there's someone in Major League Baseball that can help out improving someone's spin rate, especially when their velocity is already up, Chris, who is it?
It's number 27.
That's right. It is Trevor Bauer, who is now Archie Bradley's teammate. And you know Trevor Bauer is going to be looking at this. He's going to see, the spin rates that can be improved, especially with the velocity that he's bringing to the table. So if Archie Bradley starts improving when he gets to Cincinnati, I'm going to be looking at the spin rates, especially on his curveball, because that's in the 2nd percentile. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite familiar with his arsenal, but, usually low spin rate means you're more likely to be a ground ball guy. High spin rate is fly balls. But, I mean, Archie Bradley, let's look at the data.
I'm looking right now. Slugging percentage on each pitch. It's gone up considerably on his curveball this year. It went from 203 to 417.
Yeah, and it's not like he doesn't use a curveball. Sometimes guys don't really use a curveball; they use more of a slider. He uses his curveball 22.6% of the time. So, not having a good spin rate there is definitely holding him back.
His expected batting average and expected slugging have both shot up this year as well. His expected ERA is almost 3 runs higher. His regular ERA is nearly a run higher. Yeah, I mean, Archie Bradley, obviously we know how good he can be when he's on, and I think Trevor Bauer can bring him to a level that he's never seen before.
Yeah, that can definitely play a factor. I think, that can be a positive that comes out of that. And the Reds ultimately get the bullpen help that they need. So that those were the major moves of the deadline. There were some minor moves here and there that didn't really change the league that much, changed our view of the league that much. Ultimately it was like the Padres doing the major stuff, and then there were, some secondary moves like
the Padres carried the excitement of the trade deadline.
Yeah, they took all the attention at the trade deadline. So now I guess we can get into some winners and losers peripherally of the deadline. Anyone you want to specifically highlight?
I feel like if there is someone who won, we could probably we've probably already gone over it. And I think I really like the point I just made about the Reds with Archie Bradley. I think if his spin rate can increase with Trevor Bauer's help, like he can become a dangerous force in that bullpen, in a bullpen that already has Amir Garrett, a bullpen that already has Raisel Iglesias, a bullpen that has Michael Lorenzen that, needs to pick it up this year. But if he does, like that is a bullpen you do not want to face to go along with the starting rotation that you already don't want to face. So I really I think the Reds Archie Bradley trade will go down as like the sneaky best one. That's my hot take.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's hard to take away, especially when there weren't that many big deals. I feel like the Padres Indians trade was pretty even peripherally. The Indians got a lot of prospects, and the Indians technically might end up winning even if Mike Clevinger does well in San Diego. The Indians still might technically win.
Yeah, they still have a rotation with Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco, Aaron Savale, Zach Plesac, and Tristan McKenzie. Yeah, that's a really good rotation. That's still probably a top 5 rotation in baseball.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there.
Already your best pitcher. They've traded 3 of their best pitchers over the past year plus, and they still have a top 5 rotation in baseball.
Yeah, they traded the second runner-up of the 2018 Cy Young race. They traded the guy who finished 6th in the 2018 Cy Young race in Trevor Bauer and Mike Clevinger. Did he finish? No, he hasn't been a Cy Young finalist yet. But still, since the start of 2018, he's had the 4th best ERA in the AL of pitchers who have pitched 300 plus innings, which there were 33 guys, so he was 4th out of 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been spectacular, and the Indians are able to get rid of him and still have a very good rotation, which is.
So would you say the Indians were the winners of the trade deadline?
I wouldn't call anybody a winner or loser. The Indians. The rotation still gets worse. It's still a good rotation, but it does get worse, and they'll still be their rotation will still be fine, but you want it to be elite, especially when that offense has been pretty bad. I'm not saying they're a loser at the deadline, but they could win that trade with Padres, but that's all in the future. I don't have that many takes on like the winners and losers of the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a loser team though.
Go right ahead.
I was telling you about this earlier, but my loser team is the New York Mets.
Oh yeah.
I really don't understand the direction that this team took. It's been a rough week in Mets land, like always. You have the Brody Van Wagenen hot mic video where he criticizes Rob Manfred's idea to have the players walk off the field and then come back and play an hour later for the Black Lives Matter movement. And then it turned out to be Jeff Wilpon's idea. So he actually called out his own boss on camera. Even if it was unknowingly, that still happened. And then in the Wilpon statements, they both spelled Brody Van Wagenen's name wrong. Did you notice that, Chris?
Yeah, you texted it to me.
Send it. Yeah. I mean, you hired the guy. You can't even spell his name right. Like, that is such a Wilpon move. At the very least, Steve Cohen is making progress at buying the team, so that's good. But anyway, the Mets at the trade deadline, this team is still in the playoff hunt. Even if they aren't very good, they are under 500 and they don't have much outside of Jacob deGrom in their rotation. They are in the playoff hunt, and they decided to buy, if you even want to call it that. The three players that they bought were Robinson Chirinos, Todd Frazier, and Miguel Castro. Robinson Chirinos is 36 years old. He is hitting 117, and they already have Thomas Nido as their catcher, who has been playing pretty well and is a lot younger, and they also have Wilson Ramos. So I do not understand the need for another catcher. Thomas Nido has a 929 OPS in 26 plate appearances. He's 26 years old. Don't understand why you're getting a catcher. Todd Frazier, I know I did say a couple weeks ago that he was the best bat in the Rangers lineup because he was at the time. He is now hitting, I think, 133 over the last 2 weeks or something like that. Statistically speaking, he's one of the worst players over the last 2 weeks in the entire major leagues. And he's also his age 34 season. So it's not like you're really going to get a lot from him. And he's a free agent at the end of the year. And then Miguel Castro, I mean, I guess that's probably the best name out of the three. That doesn't make it – I mean, it's not like the bar is set very high. It's not. He's on the Orioles. He is 25 years old, and he did have 13.8 strikeouts per nine in 15 2/3 innings pitched, which is good. But, I mean, if that's the best thing you did in a trade deadline when you're buying – in a situation where you desperately need to get some wins to get in the playoff picture, you didn't do your job. And that's what I'm looking at with the New York Mets.
Yeah, the direction is always unclear. I just realized I do have a loser, and they didn't come up in my mind. They're a loser because they did nothing, absolutely nothing at the deadline. Talking about the other team in New York, the Yankees. We've talked about this team over the past week or so. I mean, you've got to at least throw your name in the Mike Clevinger sweepstakes. They're not bringing up Clark.
I was going to say, I think the defense there is that the Yankees are going to have a lot of acquisitions coming off the IL. I do think that people are the Yankees have obviously skidded recently, but I think a lot of people do forget how talented that lineup is when fully healthy. And they are going to be back for the postseason.
Yeah,
they are. Last year, but I mean, you have a good point of at least put yourself out there. At least try. I don't think I saw them in one rumor.
Yeah, even with guys coming back from the IL, you're not going to get Luis Severino back off the IL. He's out for the year. So all you're getting back from there is, I think, James Paxton. I mean, you want. With the rotation, you got Garrett Cole for a reason because that rotation wasn't very good.
Garrett Cole, after his start tonight, has a 3.91 ERA.
Yeah, you got Tanaka, you got Jordan Montgomery. You got Garrett Cole and then some 3 and 4 starters. I mean, the Yankees have been gearing up for these years, 2020, 2021, 2022. And
even before that too.
Yeah, they have a pretty good farm system. You got to throw your name in the Mike Clevinger sweepstakes. They might have been in on maybe Lance Lynn because I don't think a lot of team names came out about Lance Lynn. Maybe they
already tried Lance.
Yeah, maybe they tried for Lance Lynn, but you got to throw your name in these starting pitcher sweepstakes. I don't know what they saw with Mike Clevinger that they didn't want him.
Yeah. The Yankees are losing 5-1 right now to the Rays. If they lose this game, they will be 4.5 games back of first place. I mean, they had a great comeback win against the Mets yesterday and followed it up with another win to sweep the doubleheader. And then when I saw that, I mean, this could still be true, but I was thinking, oh, here it comes. This is where the Yankees go on a run and they will run away with the division. To follow that up with a wash of a loss tonight to the Rays with Garrett Cole on the mound at home, not what you want, as Joe Girardi would say.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a loss there. You want to throw your name in the sweepstakes, but yeah, is that all we have on the Yankees there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we get into one of our favorite segments. We've got our Monday or Tuesday, September 1st edition of. So, how many players do you have featured this week? Because I have two.
I have two.
Okay.
One of them, I have an impromptu. How about that? That I just decided to do literally this second.
Okay. I feel like we might have a crossover on one of them because one guy has been like the best guy in baseball over the past 3 weeks. One of us might have.
This guy is pitching right now, and he is dueling with Shane Bieber, 0-0 in the 5th inning, and he's been doing this all year, and that is Brad Keller of the Kansas City Royals. Coming into tonight, he had a 2.08 ERA. That is now down to, I think 1.69 ERA so far for Brad Keller. He didn't allow a run for a few starts in a row. He has a 222 ERA plus right now in 21 and 2/3 innings pitched entering tonight. So that's going to be even higher. And I mean, right now he's actively dealing against Shane Bieber, who is your MVP pick, along with both of our Cy Young picks. So that is my brief impromptu Brad Keller. How about that?
So my first how about that is also a pitcher, and this is also a guy under the radar, very low ERA. He's from the National League. He's on the Marlins. His name is Pablo Lopez. He's been very good, very under the radar. Probably the reason that they're still kicking around in the National League East. He is yet to give up more than 2 earned runs in a start, or pitch less than 5 innings. So every game for him has been at least 5 innings with less than 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs or less. And that's not even. It's not like every start has been that way. He has a 2.10 ERA and a 2.26 FIP. His ERA ranks 6th in the National League, and his fielding independent pitching ranks 3rd in the National League. Also, he has a 4.6 strikeout to walk ratio, which ranks 8th in the National League. And one thing that I noticed, one thing that's especially pretty crazy, is he has a 61.2% ground ball rate on batted balls. I mean, 61.2% is unbelievable. I think the average is probably 35, 40%. 61.2%, and it's not like they're being hit hard at all either. And I noticed, this is why Baseball Savant is great. You can notice when someone has made a significant adjustment, and that is exactly what Pablo Lopez has done from 2019 to 2020. So his four-seamer use has gone from 42.4% in 2019 down all the way to 26.3%. In 2020. He's cut that down by 16%. And his changeup use has gone up 22.0% to 30.5%. And his sinker use has gone from 16.3% to 26.1%, almost 10% difference between his sinker and from his sinker in 2019 to his sinker in 2020, and that is why he's getting these ground balls. And his sinker has improved dramatically. In 2019, hitters slugged 535 off his sinker. 535 slugging percentage is unbelievable, especially off one particular pitch. This year, however, they are slugging 250 off that sinker. So he has improved dramatically. He's made some adjustments. He's made his sinker one of his primary pitches, and that's why he's been one of the best starting pitchers in the National League this year without a lot of people realizing it.
Good stuff, Chris. Good stuff. I have one more how about that for this show. It comes from a team that not many people are fond of, but this guy is not any reason for why people don't like this team. Kyle Tucker of the Houston Astros. This guy, he was a rookie last year. I believe his rookie status ended last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. But he has been hitting the ball really well for those Houston Astros over the past couple weeks. Since August 11th, he is slashing 357, 431, 857 with a 1288 OPS. That slugging percentage and OPS are both third in the majors since then. He has 12 extra base hits and 11 strikeouts since August 11th. Also, since August 11th, his 506 WOBA is fifth in the majors, also fifth in weighted runs created plus with 230. This season altogether, he is the Astros leader in home runs, RBI, runs scored, slugging percentage, OPS, triples, WOBA, weighted runs created plus, and wins above replacement. That is Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker has been a bright spot for the Astros. You know, kind of a slow start for the Astros, and Kyle Tucker is helping them get back up, maybe catch up to the Oakland A's for first place in the division. Luckily, there was no crossover because my second how about that is Trey Turner. I think he's gone kind of under the radar, but since August 10th, he's been the best player in baseball. I don't even have much on him because it's just the basic numbers speak for themselves. Since August 10th, he's hitting 456 with a 1303 OPS. Since August 10th, he leads the league in average on base percentage, weighted runs created plus, and wins above replacement. And something that's pretty crazy is that also in this time frame, he's hitting .615 with runners in scoring position. He's 8 for 13 with runners in scoring position, driving runners in from the leadoff spot. And that 615 average with runners in scoring position since August 10th leads all players with at least 12 plate appearances with runners in scoring position in that time frame. So that's Trey Turner for you. He's been unbelievable, best player in baseball for the past 3 weeks. So now we go from the highs to the lows. Now we highlight a player that has been not doing so hot. This is slightly alarming statistics. Who do you have for your slightly alarming statistics?
I've been waiting to put this guy on here because I wanted to believe that I didn't have to, that he would eventually turn a corner. That has not happened. JD Martinez has been a problem this year. And it's been the whole year. And I'm going to highlight particularly since August 14th, he is tied for the third worst wins above replacement in the major leagues among position players. He is slashing 176, 259, 294 for a 553 OPS in that timeline. And also in that timeline, he has more strikeouts with 15 than hits and walks combined with 14. And also he has a sub 300 OBP on the year, which is not like JD Martinez. And one particular stat that's been slightly alarming, his exit velocity this year has gone down 8 miles an hour since last season. And also his hard hit percentage has dropped by over 10%. And, I don't want to be the one to say it, but after this much time, I think it's worth considering. He might be struggling from not being able to look at the video during games. That really might be a thing. Even if he wasn't stealing signs, like getting to use the video room, in between at bats, might have been really helpful for him because JD is a student of the game. He studies it really well, and that could have a huge impact on his game.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah. So for the first time, we have crossover because that was also my slightly alarming statistics. I guess, two Red Sox fans, we think at the same time. What some stats that I guess I should bring up. So in 2018, he was in the 100th percentile in hard hit percentage. In 2019, he was in the 90th percentile for hard hit percentage. Now he's in the 47th percentile. So a major drop off. It's not necessarily because he's striking out or not walking. He's just not hitting the ball as hard. He's not getting as good a look. He's not getting a look at his swing. Never mind, what the pitchers are doing. And yeah, currently has the second lowest F4 in baseball. From 2017 to 2019, he hit 313 with a 1007 OPS, but this year he's hitting 208 with a 674 OPS. It's been really rough for JD Martinez, and even if he opts in for next year, he doesn't have much to look forward to with the Red Sox. Next year, one free agent class isn't going to make this team into a playoff contender. So, yeah, it's been tough for him. But hey, do you have I don't have any more slightly alarming statistics. Do you have?
I did not either.
Yeah, we like to go positive. It's hard to highlight more than one guy a week with slightly alarming statistics. So now we get into our preview of the week ahead. Any series for you in particular that you want to highlight?
You have to look at Yankees-Rays. You have
Yeah.
to. The Rays are winning 5-1 right now in the top of the 8th inning. Obviously, it was Tyler Glasnow versus Garrett Cole tonight. The Rays have not announced any more starters because all of their pitchers are hurt. The Yankees have Tanaka going tomorrow night, and they have Montgomery. Montgomery versus Charlie Morton making his return on Wednesday, so they just haven't announced their Tuesday starter. And it looks like that's it for that series. But, the Rays could be 6.5 up by the end of it.
Yeah, the Rays after this series could basically have the division wrapped up, which
is insane.
Pretty insane. But luckily for the Yankees, winning the division doesn't have that much value this year, except maybe home field. Or no, there's the bubble. So luckily that
Last
won't.
stops.
Yeah, last stops. But yeah, luckily there's for the Yankees. That's why they had the expanded playoffs. They wanted to make sure that everyone that was supposed to get in got in. And, I kind of agreed with that because you can run into some injuries and you can scuffle for a little bit, but you should still be in the playoffs, especially a 60-game season when the game is pretty unpredictable. So my series to look at is Twins versus White Sox. The Twins, Indians, and White Sox are probably the best three-team race that we have going on right now.
Race.
So I look at these matchups a lot, whether it's Twins, White Sox, Twins, Indians, or Indians, White Sox. Always pretty entertaining. I was gonna say it's time for the Twins to turn it around. They were on a 5-game losing streak entering Monday.
Did they do anything at the deadline?
They were on a 5-game losing streak heading into Monday, and the White Sox were on a completely different direction. They're on an 11-2 run coming into Monday. However, right now the Twins are winning 4-2, and the Twins 4-2 in the 4th inning, meaning that the offense has turned it up against Lucas Giolito. However, coming into Monday, the Twins offense was kind of taking a snoozer. During that 5-game losing streak, they had a 563 team OPS. They didn't score more than 3 runs in any of those games. And I was about to say it was kind of alarming that they were going to face Lucas Giolito and Dallas Keuchel, but they seem to be handling Lucas Giolito pretty well so far. Giolito, he's allowed 3 hits. 2 of those runs were unearned, 1 home run, 7 strikeouts, but nonetheless, the Twins are winning right now, 4-2.
That's right.
So that leads to the conclusion of the episode. I guess a trade deadline special, talking about all the trades and what happened in the league about a month after the season started. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you want to watch us talk, we are on YouTube. Subscribe, STBNL with Chris Gianta and Daniel Curran. Also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, follow me at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel at Daniel_Curran. Also follow him on Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at STBNL Podcast. And we hope you enjoyed our weekend/trade deadline recap. And we hope to see you in the middle of the week, where we will be talking about everything that we were previewing beforehand. See you then.